we have to now take a look at the updated list of Miami Dolphins free agent targets for the new regime. We did this for John Eric Sullivan after he was hired, who he could go after in free agency. Well, now that it's official, now that we know that Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan are going to be running this organization, who are they going to target in March when free agency opens up? Well, let's start off by looking at the needs for this Dolphins roster. And we made a video about this on Saturday. But the four biggest needs on offense is quarterback, right tackle, wide receiver 2, and tight end. You have your left tackle, you have your center, and I think even though you should probably maybe take an eye and look at potentially interior offensive line, those are your four biggest needs on offense. Now on defense, defensive end is the biggest need. Without a question. You don't have anyone really outside of Chop Robinson with the expectation that Bradley Chubb's gone. You need a boundary corner, you need a nickel corner, and you need safety help. So a ton on the defensive end of this football field. But the issue is, Miami doesn't got a lot of cap space. Right now on over the cap, they are projected to have negative $30.3 million. Now, you will see different projections. ESPN has it at negative 27. Spot Track has it at negative 24. So who knows what the real number is, but being a pessimist, I'm going to put it at the worst. And then if it's better, well, we'll be pleasantly surprised. Anyway, number one on my number list. And here is how I ranked them. I ranked them in terms of how likely I think they are, but also a little bit, do I want them? And number one is Kingsley Enagbare, the edge from the Green Bay Packers. This is a player that Jeff Hafley is very familiar with. John Eric Sullivan is very familiar with, and I think could be in line for a bigger role on a bigger team. I mean, in his career so far, he has 3 sacks, 2 sacks, 4.5, 2, consistent there. But the part that makes him an intriguing fit is he is very willing and I think very solid at bare minimum at setting the edge in the run game. I know PFF grades don't tell the whole story, but graded out relatively solid in run defense. And when you watch some of his tape, he does set the edge in limited sample size pretty solid. And I actually think he's the most likely signing. I put him at number one because I'd be welcoming him to Miami and I wouldn't be mad at it. But I do think he is the most likely because the biggest need on the roster, in my opinion, outside of the next quarterback, the next franchise guy, is defensive end. We don't have any outside of Chop Robinson. So Enagbare is going to be cheap. He's not going to get more than $6-7 million a year. He knows Hafley's system. Hafley and Sully both know the person he is. Unless he just isn't a good culture fit, I don't see a reason why Miami wouldn't be targeting him in free agency. I think he's the most likely signing. The player and position everybody wants to talk about, Malik Willis. He comes in at number 2. I would be very happy with him coming down to Miami on a trial basis to be the quarterback. I think it just all comes down to money. We've said that consistently. I'm going to continue to say it. Because when you watch him play in Tennessee early in his career, very up and down. You watch him play early in his career in Green Bay a couple years ago, up and down, but got a couple wins. But then you watch him against Chicago and Baltimore in the final month of the season, and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy is a top 32 starting quarterback in the NFL. And it's going to be very difficult to try to judge what he gets paid in how many years. Is there going to be a team out there that falls in love with that 2-game sample size, that tape, and says, with that arm talent, with that dual threat ability, I'm going to give him a 2 for $25 million deal like the Jets with Justin Fields last year? If that's the case, Miami's done. But if he gets a Sam Darnold, the Daniel Jones, 1 for $12 million, 1 for $10 million, 1 for $14 million deal, well, then I could see Miami being interested, and heck, I would be very willing to sign him. Number 3 on my list is someone that has no connection to Hafley or Sully, but I want, and that's tight end Cade Otton from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who quietly has been as consistent as a middle-tier wide or a tight end, I should say, as there is. Back-to-back years, 59 receptions. Back-to-back years, around 600 yards. Not the biggest touchdown threat, but once again, back-to-back years in the 80 target range, no matter how many games he ultimately plays. This is while being the 4th option, right? Behind Mike Evans, behind Chris Godwin, behind Emeka Egbuka this year, heck, behind Jalen McMillan at times as well. You also look at him in the run game as a blocker. I wouldn't say it's the best. It's not the worst. Like, I think Cade Otton is a very fascinating player that we know Miami needs a tight end. And if they'd like to invest $8 million into the position, a 2-year, $16 million deal, 3 for 24. I don't know if they do it, but Cade Otton might be my number one guy. I think Isaiah Likely is a little bit more expensive than Otton, which is why I don't think he ultimately comes to the 305. We're going to go right back to the Packers. Quay Walker, the linebacker, number 4. He is someone who would be almost a luxury signing, if you will. Like, you have Tyrel Dodson. You have Jordan Brooks. Do you need to sign Quay Walker, who's probably going to get double-digit AAV this year in free agency? I don't know. I don't think that's a need. But he would be very good in Miami. He would be an awesome addition because he knows the system, and Miami would trust him to install the level of culture they want in Miami coming over from free agency. But as we alluded to, I'm just not sure he would fit into the Dolphins' budget. As Miami tries to get back into a healthy cap situation, they got to just figure out what they're doing with Tua. I just think Quay Walker gets $12, $13 million per year, and Miami simply can't pay that for a linebacker when they already have 2 relatively good ones, one really good one, one competent, capable on the roster. Number 5 is a name that we haven't mentioned, but it's from an in-division rival. How about A.J. Epenesa, the edge rusher, former first-round pick of the Buffalo Bills out of Iowa? I don't think he's that good, and you've seen his numbers and production decrease over the past couple of years, drafted in 2020, but I am intrigued with the idea of adding him because he is a physical football player. Yeah, his sacks have decreased, his pressures have decreased, his pass rush win rate has decreased, but I think he's fine in the run game, and I think it would be a player and a person that Miami would be fine with investing into. Good name to keep an eye on, number 5 on my list. Today's show is sponsored by Ethos. After watching someone close to me go through loss, I saw how quickly grief can turn into financial stress. Life insurance isn't about expecting the worst, but it's about making sure the people you love are supported no matter what. And that's why I recommend life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Now, application times may vary, but there's no medical exam. Just answer a few simple health questions, and as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos by going to ethos.com/NFL Daily. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That is ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times and rates may vary. Number 6, unexpected name that I did not think I was going to put in this video, but as I did my research, I went through some numbers and thought about some free agent fits. Vederian Lowe popped up, and it's a name that I really think Miami should take a look at. This is a guy that the Packers brass, Hafley and Sullivan, may know well. Maybe not Hafley, but Sullivan. He was drafted. He was a member of the Minnesota Vikings. He gets traded in 2023 to the New England Patriots, where he's been there ever since. And he was forced into a starting role in 2024, and he was one of the worst offensive linemen in the NFL. Simply put, he was absolutely atrocious at left tackle in 2024, trying to protect Drake May's blind side. But in 2025, he was thought of as a swing tackle, back up to Will Campbell. Will Campbell goes down. He has to step up and play 4 or 5 games down the stretch, had 317 snaps logged, and he was good. Like, there's just no way around it. He was good for New England. And if you've watched some of these playoff games, Will Campbell has really struggled. And there are many people out there in New England, I've seen the tweets, that actually think it would be better well-suited for New England to move Will Campbell inside the left guard, replace Jared Wilson there, and start Vederian Lowe at left tackle. That is how well he has improved his stock so far this year in New England. And he's played right tackle in the past, not a ton, about 290 snaps. So if you decide to move off of Austin Jackson, Vederian Lowe, who has not proven to be a competent starting guy, but has filled in nicely in 2025, could be a very cheap 1 year, $4-5 million contract guy that starts at right tackle for Miami. Keep an eye on Vederian Lowe. And we'll have you covered every step of the way this offseason, so make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications. We're going to double whammy 7 and 8 here. Wide receivers, Kendrick Bourne and Romeo Doubs. And I put Bourne slightly ahead of Doubs because I do think Kendrick Bourne is more likely. And we'll describe why here in a second. But you look at the comparison of these two wide receivers in 2025, and there's really no shock at who's better, right? Doubs is way more productive and has been over the last 3 seasons in Green Bay. And you have the added familiarity of Doubs with Hafley, with John Eric Sullivan, someone that Sully had a large input in terms of selecting in the draft 4 years ago in 2022. But the reason why I think Bourne would be put slightly ahead of Doubs in terms of my likelihood is because I think Doubs gets $13-14 million per year. I could see him getting a 3-year, $40 million deal. Think Jacoby Myers. Go back a couple of years. Jacoby Myers leaves New England and goes to the Raiders on a 3-year, $39 million deal. I can see Romeo Doubs getting that very easily. And the point I'm trying to make here is Doubs can't fit into Miami if he's getting paid that much money. And Bourne, who is going to go for a 1 year, $6-7 million, $8 million deal, great culture guy, has been productive. And if you want to explore maybe trading for Mac Jones to compete with Quinn Ewers as your starter this year, Bourne and Mac Jones have an excellent chemistry and rapport. I think Kendrick Bourne's a really good option. Couple last guys here to finish up. How about Alohi Gilman, the safety, who was with the Chargers and then got traded in that Odafe Owe deal to the Baltimore Ravens, but had a large role for Baltimore in the final 10 games of the season. Had 9 PBUs this year and 90 tackles. He's an extremely versatile guy. Can play in the box, can play deep, can play in the nickel. Now, does he do it at an elite level? I don't think I would go that far. But if you want to add a good safety into the mix that can play in different areas on the football field in a defensive system that likes versatility, I think Gilman's a very fascinating option. Him, Fitzpatrick, Dante Trader Jr., it's an interesting trio at safety for Miami. And the final free agent target, number 10, not number 19, is Amik Robertson, the corner who formerly played for the Las Vegas Raiders, but was with Detroit over the last 2 years. And I'll bring up the familiarity there between the Lions and the Packers, seen them play 4 times over 2 years, so they know who Amik Robertson is. And 2025 was not the best year for Amik Robertson. There's just no debating that. When targeted in coverage, he was picked on quite a bit. Now, he did have a good game against Justin Jefferson early on in the year, but Jettas didn't have the best season with J.J. McCarthy and company throwing the football. But the reason why I'm intrigued with him is that he is, like Gilman, very versatile. He can play nickel. He can play outside. He can. He, in 2024, I'm looking at it here, played 400 snaps inside, 188 on the outside. In 2023 with the Raiders, best year of his career, only an 85.7 QB rating when targeted, 500 snaps outside, 100 in the slot. This year, 487 outside, 300 in the slot. So if you need him to play your nickel, he's 5'8", he can do that. You want him to play outside opposite of a rookie or a Rasul Douglas, Jack Jones you re-sign, he can do that. I think the versatility there is valuable because Miami needs both a boundary corner and a nickel corner. You can scratch one off and also have depth at one of the others by signing Amik Robertson. Hafley and Sully know who he is by watching him play in Detroit over the last couple of years. I think that's a real intriguing fit there for Miami, and I do not think he's that expensive. I would think a 2-year, $14 million deal could be in the range of outcomes for Amik Robertson. But I named 10 names today. There are certainly more out there that fit Miami and have connections to Sully and Hafley. Who is the top free agent you want to sign? Get down in the comment section and let me know. And when it comes to March and Miami making signings, we will have you covered. So subscribe and join the channel today.